It's high noon.
And welcome to episode number 13 of Foul Play. That's Fantasy Overwatch League Play. We're getting back to normal a little bit this week as myself, DeathBlow, and TheBlevins are both, here again. Also, it's not Easter, so those were our two pretty decent excuses for not being on the last two episodes. However, big thanks while we're here to Asmith and TheBlevins, Bob, who I do know is in chat, for filling in for us, recording an episode last week. Blevins and I were literally like dead on our feet. We were just like unconscious and sleeping while we walked around after PAX last weekend. So
and during, like, it was just it was rough. It was rough.
So much going on.
The opportunity, but it was really, really a lot harder than it looks, and you can definitely keep it. Keep running. I'm just saying.
Everyone's always a critic until they take a seat in the driver's seat, and
that's why you'll never hear me apologize for something like a missed audio cue or failing to call somebody Lord when it's appropriate at any given time, because there's too much going on to actually get everything right while recording. But nonetheless, big thanks to you two for stepping up and helping us out. Really, really appreciate it. But with that said, no more patting ourselves on the back here. We've got to go in and really, I guess, admit defeat here. Blevins never likes to put in his "how'd you do this past week" results in there for us to know he did ahead of time. But
it's because he's elitist. But
for Asmith and myself,
yes, I am. It
wasn't great. So Asmith, talk to us about how you did this past week in your fantasy leagues.
Well, I'm gonna cough and choke a little bit because that's what most of my players did, because they had the freaking plague. What happened? Like, half the players in the league decided to get sick this week and, sit down. Fisher was sick. Super got sick. Logix was sick. Who else was sick? There were more players. There were more players who all happened to be on my team. I was just so unhappy about the whole situation. And you can't win when half your team is not playing. And Muma got benched. So, I don't even know what to do anymore. Like, this is like, throw up my hands. Did Jesus take the wheel here? Because I don't know, man. Like, what am I going to do? Everybody's getting sick. You can't plan for that, especially when we don't have it reported until after the game starts.
As somebody that's played a lot of fantasy football, not really too much in the other sports, so I don't know if this is paralleled in the other ones, but this has been a near impossible guessing game for me so far, knowing who's gonna lose their job due to playing time randomly. It's hitting players you wouldn't have expected in a million years.
Lose their job because they're no longer part of the league. Who's gonna just get benched by someone who we've never seen play before?
But Blevins, since you've been guessing wildly this entire time, and quite frankly are doing better than both myself and Asmith this year, how'd your week go this week, bud?
Just another 2-0 casual.
Wow, you're better than the New York Excelsior. That's crazy.
Got him.
Well, guys, that's going to be it for me. I got a really nice looking belt and a rafter over here that looks really, really enticing. But no, I went 2-0 this week. My new fantasy scoring system, Jonak, Wish Your Girlfriend Was Hot Like Me, is just untouchable. I'm 9-0, or no, 9-0, I believe. Let's see, 9-0 right now with that team. Coincidentally or ironically enough, it doesn't actually have Jonak on it. My old scoring system team does have Jonak on it, and the combination of Jonak, Fate, and to a lesser extent to Vic as my core starters have really been carrying me through a lot of these weeks. Notably weeks where I started Undead when he was no longer a member of the Overwatch League. Multiple weeks of starting Taimu when who knows if he's playing or not. Taimu still is residing on my bench right now. The old scoring system, man, that's a tough one because it's basically like you need to get DPSs. And the well is kind of dry in that league right now.
Yeah, I've got a lot of
I
leagues
like
where
him.
I own literally Fissure and Jonak, and you'd think that would just be great, but like I had Dreamcasper and Shadowburn in all of them too. So it's been a bit of a rough go. Personally, my week this week was 0-2. Fun fact about me is I own Bird Ring everywhere, and despite being one of the best DPS players in Overwatch League,
Screw Bird Ring.
he doesn't play, I guess, anymore. It's just not his thing.
I warned you.
He really likes to
warned
be-
you about drafting people from London.
Calm down, Mr. First Pick
this.
Bedosin. But anyway, speaking of which, let's jump around a little bit here. Let's move right into the news section because this is topical here. We're going to go to the second topic so you guys can keep up here. London is 1-3 on the stage this week, and they're still substituting like crazy and giving Asmith and I absolute fits here as a result. So my big question is, what are we supposed to do with Bedos out and Bird Route G? What are we supposed to do with these particular players? Because they're spending too much time on the bench for me. So, Blevins, why don't we give your take on both? And then, Asmith, I thought we could talk about what we're doing in the leagues where we actually own these guys and how we're planning to go forward with it.
That's fair.
I've been saying I don't want to touch the London ever. I never wanted them. I don't think I own a single London player on a team that's doing well. That's incorrect. I have Nuss on my bench, but no, I don't. I never wanted anything to do with them. We knew that this was going to be the case at the start. I guess if you have, it's one of those things where like if you have a slot in your roster where you can afford to lose a lot of points but benefit from gaining a lot of points, maybe you can play one of these top players. But I'm staying the heck away from them. If you can ship them for, maybe you can get like, because I mean, maybe to people in your league, I mean, Bird Ring still has some name recognition. You can probably ship him off and get something back for him, but I don't want him. I want nothing to do with any of the London players.
Hey Smith, and what are your plans? Because you've got Bedosin, so how are you planning to adjust to that, and what are your plans going forward for how to fill your support spot, or are you still just using him?
Well, here's the deal. Every time I put him on my bench, he pops off. So, I mean, look, this week, one of these London players is in the leaders, and one of them, you can guess which one. But it's a weird situation, and ideally, you'd probably like to ship them out, but when they do well, they do really well, and they'll win you weeks. They are the absolute epitome of a boom and bust, and you need to surround the boom bust player with players that are consistent, and you kind of have to build your team around them. And obviously we didn't know how players were going to be, I mean, this is the first year the league has ever happened, so we had no idea how this is going to go. But ideally, if you can surround a player like Bedosin with a consistent, players that we know have consistent playing time, it could work out for you, and you can continue to play him. I think I'm just going to keep rolling him out. He tends to be the best player there, and it seems like London's starting to see the light. They take him out, but then they realize, oh no, I didn't want to take him out. Put him right back in. So, I mean, he only sat out one map, I think, each go around. So, he's still doing pretty, even though he's sitting out a map, he's still doing better than most of the supports right now. So, I'd still roll him out. Bird Ring, on the other hand, I don't know what happened. He's like gone through a funk. So Bird Ring, I'd definitely ship off in a heartbeat.
I think he's been playing, but let's look at it this way, because when I look at your team that has him, right, and I look at what your other options, you actually have Sleepy on your roster with him.
I'm so mad I played Sleepy instead of Bedosin. Just saying.
But if we look at, I mean, this is difficult because you have these two in old scoring format, but when we look at new scoring format, we've got Sleepy season long, significantly higher in points scored, right? Bedosin's 10th among supports. Sleepy is 5th. So assuming this was new scoring format, knowing
I think
that
it is the new scoring format.
Is there any chance it is not? I mean, you might also have it in new, but I'm looking at old.
I don't think you are.
Well, anyways, but let's look at new scoring format, then where we know for a fact Sleepy is outscoring him. You're still continuing to roll out Bedosin?
Well, it depends on the matchups. I'm gonna try to play the matchups the best I can. If they're playing Shanghai, probably not. You know, I'm gonna try to guess the best I can, but any game that they have the hardest schedule, I'm gonna play him. Other than that, you know, it depends. You gotta play the matchups, honestly, with a player like Widozen and even a player like Sleepy. You're gonna have to play the matchups, and that's kind of, it's tough, and you're gonna have to like really read into what's going on and how it might go. But this is the Overwatch League. Teams will get randomly 4-0'd, and you're just scratching your head as to what happened. But you know, that's fantasy sports. You know, you're gonna try to predict the future, and as soon as you try, you're gonna get it wrong. But you know, you have to do the best you can, and I think playing the matchups with players like that is what you have to do.
Well, and here's an interesting question. I do want to ask this of both of you because I don't know what way I'm going to go with it. But I have Bird Ring, and this is in the new scoring format, right? So when I look at my other options, I've got a lot of guys who recently became, you know, they were recently pickups or something along those lines here. So I'm looking at as options. So on my team right now, I have Dia, Mistakes, and Saya Player all to go with Bird Ring. So are there any one of them that you would play over Bird Ring going forward? Blevin, start with you.
Man, I might play. I mean, I don't want.
It's a really tough question. That's why I'm sitting here going,
really
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I just don't really want to play Dia. I mean, let's see. How did he do this week?
152 points.
It's not bad.
Double,
I don't know.
over double.
It's triple what Bird.
Yeah.
It's almost triple.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but
well
like,
over double.
I mean, I guess I would play all of them over because you just know like they're going to play more than he is, and they're going to do better. I just don't like. I don't even want to own London players at all. From the beginning, I've been of this philosophy, and it's just I don't want anything to do with it.
It cost you a chance at profit. Not that you're wrong, but it cost you a chance at profit.
Yep.
Asmith, any of those that you're considering playing over, you would consider playing over Bird Ring?
Okay, so it was Saya Player, Dia, and who else?
Mistakes.
Shoot. I mean, I'm gonna have to like. I would literally have to look at each matchup every week to determine my starting lineup.
At the moment, I'm personally leaning towards Mistakes just because I think his playing time is guaranteed, right? So I never have to worry about that. And also, he might not have like hit the jackpot as far as fantasy point scoring goes, but at the end of the day, he didn't kill you, right? Like for when you're talking about picking up a replacement player,
points,
he did okay. And I think he's only going to get better, right? Like he showed me a really, really strong Widowmaker this past weekend. He showed me an adequate Genji, a hero that we've never seen him play before, ever. So I'm personally kind of leaning on playing Mistakes and banking on him getting better, right? If the team's going to continue to look this good and this strong, he's not going to get exposed too much. Like they're too busy worried about, you know, Neko and Striker and their backline and things like that.
They're playing London and Seoul this week. Who do you start him?
Mistakes? Yes. I'm fine with it. Yeah. I think as a team, I don't think they're outmatched, so I'm fine with it.
No, I don't think as a team. I think as a player, it's possible he gets outmatched. He didn't do that well. Like, to be honest, it looked like Striker was carrying most of the way. Mistakes did okay, but he had a very average Genji.
But here's the thing. He was never expecting to play.
Yeah, he didn't have a full week. He didn't have a full practice schedule.
And not only that, like he was it wasn't like, okay, like it's not like a Huck came up to Mistakes 5 weeks ago and tapped him on the shoulder and was like, "Hey man, yeah, you're going to get your shot. Like, you know, keep grinding." It's like he had no thought he was ever even going to see the stage and then is thrust into it and still gets 150 points.
Yeah,
like,
but do you stop grinding? Like, you should never stop grinding,
but it's different.
Like,
just
you're going to play,
different.
Period.
Do you think if IDDQD was put in this week that he would get 150 points?
I don't think IDDQ's that good, but that's just me.
Right. So, but did you think that IDDQD was better than Mistakes when the Overwatch League was announced?
No.
Not in like the tracer role. I do get the point. Like it really
regardless. The other thing is that Mistakes is one of the few players in the league that, I mean, I still think like we've seen players get better as they've played on stage. Like even if the grind doesn't stop, like being in the scrims and playing with the team and being a part of the team practice is going to make you a better player. So he still, I think, has more potential to grow than a lot of the other players do.
That's fair. I could go along with that.
Well, we've basically covered the second bit of news here, was that Boston without Dreamcasper is doing just fine. Really appeared to not skip a beat. Took down New York this week, and then their second matchup did go to 5 against Florida, but just the kings of map 5. So from a fantasy standpoint, buying in on these Boston players now is probably your last chance, right, before everybody's just at full value. And also, I'm just going to take my bow and you know, I just want to self-recognize the fact that it was, I think, 3 episodes ago I told everybody to pick up mistakes. I'm not calling myself a soothsayer or anything like that, but I definitely did advise everybody to go pick them up. So, moving on here.
You knew that Dreamcasper was doing these various activities, and you said,
"Listen,
nothing.
we've already moved on. We've already moved on, A. Smith. I don't want to talk about it anymore."
You know, it's behind the green curtain.
But the next bit of news
Quick
here
segue.
is something that definitely will impact fantasy lookouts going forward, or impact going forward. Fact Fiction has started to sub in a little bit for the Houston Outlaws, and all things considered has looked great in doing so. Not that we've noticed big problems with Muma's game or anything like that, but Fact does notably play a very different style of Winston from Muma, much more aggressive, in-your-face style that really seemed to at least give a boost to the fantasy stat production from the main tank spot, because from a fantasy standpoint, I believe he's been doing better than Muma this past week, right?
He did, and he played per map. I think he did. Hang on,
per map, right?
Per
definitely.
map, he did. He played less maps, but
right.
I mean, he played 1 map in game 1 and put up 61 fantasy points.
Yeah, so
that's otherworldly. Like, no player has done that.
in that 1 map in that game, like on the match overall, with 3 other maps from where was it, 4 other maps, I'm not 100% sure, from Muma only got 54 points. So clearly this is definitely a bit of a conversation. Unfortunately for me personally, if you're talking about splitting time like this, that really just kind of drops both of them out of the realm of usability for from a fantasy standpoint. But is there any other reaction to be had here? I mean, should we be scrambling to pick up Fact Fiction? Should we be trying to trade off Muma while we can? A. Smith, I know you own Muma a couple places, so how are you handling this?
I'm still trying to process what happened. Like, I'm literally still processing it, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm probably will try to ship him off. Mumo has been a great tank, but I think I could probably find value in other players that will have more consistent playing time. I know Flame has this philosophy of playing tank, trying to get as many players to play as possible. And who knows if Fact Fiction is... Yeah, well, Mendo, from what I hear, is not. It's like mostly his decision. He's not even showing up to practices. But yeah. So I mean, honestly, I'm gonna try to trade him. I think that's just the smartest decision. Fact has looked too good not to continue to roll out. And I'm just cursing Dallas right now. We picked up XQC over Fact Fiction. Like, what on earth were we thinking? Another anyways. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
For what it's worth, XQC was a good player. But
was he?
Yeah, I thought he was a good player.
He still is.
The problem is you only get 2 maps out of him before he does something that gets him yanked out.
Well in the league.
He didn't have many opportunities to, but we don't need to compare apples with apples that have been banned. So we can just kind of move on. But yeah, so listen, going forward, I think it's okay to pick up Fact Fiction. It's not okay to be playing him yet on the overall, but it's definitely something you can consider, and it really makes you question whether or not you can use Muma going forward. So make sure you take a look at the matchups, everything, and especially on Route 66. Like, if Houston's playing Route 66 twice that week, I think those are going to be other maps where Muma comes out, because I kind of like how they're using him so far right now, right? Like, let's bring him in on maps where we haven't historically been good to give us a different look or a different feel. Like, what are you going to do? Not see point 1 on Route 66? It's not going to matter. So might as well give it a try and bring him in. So I don't expect that philosophy to necessarily change as far as the main tank plays go, and I don't think as a Houston fan I'm even upset about it. Fact played really well. So moving on, we did have Gambler playing a little bit for Toby. I think here the thought process, a lot bit. I think a part of the thought process here is that Gambler might be stronger on the Mercy at the moment. I'm not really sure I saw that this week, but what did you guys see from the sole support players? Blevins, let's start with you.
Gambler is good. Like, keep playing him. And we talked about this as like kind of a mistake before a few weeks ago. I was like, why are you not playing Toby and Jaehong? It's like, I mean, Toby was billed as like the boop god for Lucio, and like Lucio has just been kind of not like Mercy is still good. It turns out like we're still seeing a lot of Mercy. And it's kind of weird because everyone was like, oh my God, Mercy meta, worst meta ever. And now like Mercy's still seeing a lot of play, but she was gone for like 2 seconds. So they're like, well, let's hide her for 2 seconds, make people think that she's not that good. And then everyone just starts playing her again. And no one knows the difference. Like,
I mean, I can easily define the difference, and it's just sheer number of resurrects. If they're playing her for the healing output, for the the team fight power and Valk, nobody ever minded those things. What people minded was standing up every single kill that happens, and now you're getting like it feels like about half the number of reses as a result of it. Because when you hit Q, you don't like reset the cooldown anymore. I don't remember all the specifics of what changed.
Right. I mean, what it is that you have to actually have a concerted game plan around the Mercy, which feels better because it's like, oh well, we have to pop our Transcendence here to give Mercy a good res, and you can punish it more, which feels better for sure. So but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like Mercy is much more important in this meta than we might have thought, and if Gambler's a better Mercy than Toby, and especially from a fantasy standpoint, we've seen Lucio really not be a big contributor, at least comparatively. So if we're seeing Mercy players, seems good.
Well, Blevins has placed himself pretty firmly on Team Gambler. I'm still very much on Team Toby. I don't see Soul fixing their problems or getting any better unless they just stop the absolute absurdity that's going on. Like, just play Toby and Jaehong. Just stop benching your DPS players. Like, you don't need to see the other ones. You can just play your best lineup and probably win more games here, Soul. So I would really love to see them able to do that, as much as I did want to see Dallas pull it out. But Asmith, are you on Team Toby or are you on Team Gambler?
Look, there's a famous song that says I'm a gambling man, and that's where I'm going. Team Gambler, baby. Let's go. All right. Gambler is just a better Mercy. Toby has been very uninspiring. Like, he has not showed that he's good, to be honest with you. He hasn't showed Overwatch League material. When he's on Lucio, sure, but how often does he get to play Lucio and be impactful? Control maps, that's about it. You know, other than that, he's been I'd rather take, like, you know, a handful of other main supports. I'd rather have Moth over Toby, to be honest with you, on my team.
I'll buy more mechanically gifted Mercy players out there than Toby, but what I can't buy is the fact that Soul Dynasty, when they're playing with Gambler, looks like a team that can't find their shot caller because he's on the bench. And that, to me, at the end of the day, and this isn't a fantasy conversation for me, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to play either of them. But, you know, it's just a matter of, like, what can Soul do to right the ship here for me is what's going to answer this question.
Keep playing Gambler so that he can get better.
I mean, they had Zephyr in, which is basically throwing, to be honest with you. I mean, Zephyr is not good. And Dallas, and then Fleta got sick halfway through. After the first match, he got sick and sat out because he was like puking or whatever. So, I mean, like, they had other issues there. And Zumba played awful. He was sick, and he played the second game, and he literally put up 0 fantasy points in 5 maps.
Oh.
I mean, he played awful. So if the team gets healthy, I think Gambler's a fine play. He's a better player for the meta. And as long as they have a shot caller, which I think Miro can be their shot caller and Jaehong can, I think they'd be fine.
I can see it working either way. Like, I don't think Toby's so good that he's irreplaceable. I just think the team looks better when he's in there at the end of the day. But like you guys are talking about, maybe the thing to do is just ride it out with Gambler for another week or two, and then it's better in the long run.
Just don't keep flip-flopping like they've been doing.
Right, because that's never going to work.
Or bring in the Cox.
Right? Anyways,
Cox got signed. The rumor is Cox got signed to Soul, and Cox is a great deep support. Just
Asmith has Cox in the brain, I guess. Well, let's just move on. Go right into the
inappropriate comments.
Not my wife.
I'm not making any more inappropriate comments.
Moving along, let's talk about the leaders and feeders of the week this past week. Starting off with the leaders here. Let's go to Asmith first, so he can hype up his boy.
Load it out.
Yeah, get your one pseudo win of the week out of the way.
Andy died.
OGE, the Dallas Fuel player who has come to resurrect this tank lineup that has looked pathetic. And that he put up 233 points, number 2 tank player this week. Expect big things from the shot caller as he continues to mesh with this team and the calls to continue to get better. Expect better things from Dallas. I'm not saying expect a bunch of wins, but I'm saying expect better, more competitive matches and OGE to put up big points because he looks good. He looks like a very good player. Maybe it was all that boosting he was doing in Korea that he got him that good. But
now Fisher's never gonna watch our show. Great.
Sorry, Fisher.
He was too handsome to watch our show anyways. But I want to say that was probably hands down the best lag we've ever had on this show, because all of a sudden Asmith just came in at 100 miles an hour, full speed. It was pretty great. You'll have to listen to what happened there, Asmith. it was interesting.
Got lagged out.
It worked though. Honestly, it wasn't bad. Blevins, talk to us about the number 2 tank leader from last week.
I'm gonna actually take the number 3 because I know you're a fanboy of the second. So we're gonna move, and I'm gonna talk about a team who I have mistakenly picked too many times in Pick'em and put too many chips, namely any at all, on them, and that is Fearless of the Shanghai Dragons. The first, I believe, Asmith, you fact checked this one. The first Shanghai Dragon to ever hit over 200 points. The closest we got was Dia at like 180 or something before 190. I don't know. But we saw Fearless get 200 points. I mean, we've talked about this with the Shanghai Dragons for a while now. Even if they're not getting W's, their level of play is increasing, and this is a sign of it. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, it just shows that these players have the capacity to score a lot of points when they're actually playing competitive games, and they're now showing that they have competitive games in them. I mean, they took a map against San Francisco. I mean, one of these weeks they're going to get a win, right? And we might see a couple of we might see some more 200-point games out of these Dragons.
Well, the Shanghai Dragons themselves have said they're aiming to reach the 10-win total by the end of the season. So good luck on that, ladies and gentlemen.
Great luck.
I almost just said gentlemen there. I'm glad I caught it. So the number 3 tank leader of the week is Space here from the LA Valiant. Came in as the number 3 tank, 213 points. One of the better performances we've seen from a Diva player in quite some time. Listen, this is a guy that you should have been picking up. We didn't have episodes for us to tell you to go out there and pick him up. So if he's still out there, make sure you do grab him. I worried a lot about whether or not there would be fall off here, compared to Envy. Just Fate and Envy have been together for so long, right? That it just saying Fate and Envy together sounds right. Like they're almost like one player in my mind when I talk about them now, because I really thought both of them lifted each other up a little bit. And I'm still a little bit worried about that. But one thing I can tell you is that Space is no slouch.
Fate's just a god, I think.
Honestly, I don't know that I have him in my top 3. He might not even make my top 5 individual tanks. But nonetheless, as a unit, I had the Valiant as probably like the number 3
really matter.
tank, right? Tank team.
Fate's always there, yeah.
Yeah, so, but anyways, Space is a very mechanically gifted player. If he can get on the same page in the same way that Envy was with this team, I think 213 can be improved upon. I think there's room for him to go a little higher here. So I'm willing to buy this player as an upside, pickup. I'm willing to play him if I'm tank needy or, having problems with my tank core at the moment. So definitely a big week here from Space. Great to see if you're a Valiant fan. I know if I was, I would have been very worried about the tank move, but overall, I don't think it's anything to hit the panic button about or anything like that. But
considering they're insane right now, I wouldn't hit the panic button on anything.
Sure, they played 4 pretty bad teams, but moving on, we can go ahead and talk about the support players. We'll get more into the Valiant because I'm not buying them on this stage at the
I mean,
moment.
they don't have to play against New York this stage, so
I
that's,
mean, they're 4-0 right now, so
That's a boost for them, but we can look at who they played to evaluate how
Boosting,
strong
triggered,
of a 4-0 that is.
boosting what?
Their record is definitely like that is a fact, but we'll see how it looks in 2 weeks from now, where they sit in the standings. I'm calling it. I'm calling my shot now. But anyways, going on into the supports, I'm gonna sit this one out because we've only got 2. So Blevins, hit us up with the first support leader for the
I
week.
thought you were gonna skip me. We'll go. Well, let's just keep the Valiant train going. We got Kareev here, 254 points, number 2 support overall. I mean, I'm in on the Valiant train, and I mean, we could take a big, multi-week king bet here.
King bet.
With actually, I'll take who are the Valiant playing this week? I'm derailing it right now. Who are the Valiant played this week? They're playing
Gladiators in London.
Ooh, what do you, DeathBlow? What do you think the Valiant's record's going to be at the end of this week?
I think it'll be 0-2, but I'm not making a bet. I'm not making a bet on 1-1.
Okay, hold on. Why don't we do this? We'll do, if it's 2-0, I win. If it's 0-2, you win, and 1-1 is a push.
Done.
Okay, it's in. It is decided.
You can just start calling me Lord Deathblow now if you want to, because I will
I
eat
don't
my
think
foot
so.
if they go 2-0 this week. But let's talk about.
You will eat your foot?
Let's
That's
talk
another
about.
bet.
It's a turn of phrase. I don't know if you guys have heard it before, but did we even start talking about the player yet, or no? Here, Blevins?
Yeah, Kareev.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not a DPS player anymore. He's a support player. It's great. He went in and out too many times, or he was threatened with in and out too many times. Yeah, I mean, he's good, and the Valiant are good. I mean, for what it's worth, what you mentioned was true. They have played a couple of weak teams, but I mean, I think even if they don't go 2-0 this week, the Valiant Gladiators match is usually a close one. Actually, it's been all over the place. So, but it's likely going to be close. And then who knows what's going on with London? That could go either way, but I think it might be close as well. So, I'm still in on the Valiant train, especially from a fantasy perspective.
The Shock, the Fuel, and the Dragons are too enticing of opponents not to be all in. In all fairness, they did beat a heavily throwing Soul Dynasty team in the first week of the stage. But Asmith, talk to us about the number 2 support leader on the week.
With the number, I cannot. Do I have to? Fine, I'll talk about him. It's Bedo's out. Okay, Bedo's out. He put up 239 points. 3rd overall support this week. Look, he put up one of his best weeks. I mean, it was his third best week of the year, 3rd best point scoring total, and he didn't even play all the maps. He did amazing this week. He played like the support that London needs. Not the support they deserve, the support they need.
No, Hago's the support they deserve, because they keep going back to that well. They deserve Hago win, yeah.
100%. But
as a fantasy owners deserve Bedosin, though.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But he did really well, and that's all I got to say about that because he was on my bench.
Ooh,
that's a feels bad, man. Blevins, you can sit this one out because we're going to talk about the DPS leaders, and I'm a little upset at you, Mr. Surefour. Okay, listen, I love the Gladiators. They're my number 2 team. Been talking about it for a while. Welcome to the 300 Club, Surefour. 338 points, the first overall player. I'm assuming that's regardless of position or anything like that. Love that you do this only when I play against you, right? I did, and when I've got Birdring with his 40-something points, it was literally the only thing that swung one of the expert leagues was that particular matchup of Surefour versus Birdring. Surefour is a player, though. I am buying this guy. His Widow is leveling up on a weekly basis as we see it. He's one of the most flexible DPS players in Overwatch League. Maybe there's heroes out there that he can't play at a tier 1 Overwatch League level, but if there are, the Gladiators just aren't asking him to play him, so everything's been gravy when he's been out there. I really have for a long time thought they needed to just keep him in 100% of the time. Sorry, Asher. But now they do have this great rotation here among the 3. When they just bench Silk Thread like they did this week and just don't use them, things go a lot more smoothly for them. So hopefully we can see that. I will say this though, there was an illness that kept him in the lineup, I think a full time this week. Don't buy that being the case going forward. He will be back to a rotation. He just spiked to smite me for rooting for his team. That's the whole reason this happened. Don't buy into it too much going forward. Asmith, who else we got for a leader this week?
Here's a leader that we haven't seen or talked about since the first stage. Yeah, week 2. I don't know. Look, Easter just came around, and it's the bunny. That's who it is. It's the bunny. He put up 203 points, 10th best DPS. Someone we weren't expecting to do this because they have Soon on their team. The Valiant have Soon, and why would they play 2 Tracer players? Oh, yeah, because Soon can play Widow, and Widow Tracer's good. And Bunny's a good deep Tracer. Really good Tracer. This could be a new lineup coming around, and you could expect big things. After that week 1 where you drafted Bunny way too high, you finally might actually get some value out of him. Congratulations if you stuck around that long.
I know I didn't, so great.
Nope.
Moving on, let's talk about the feeders from this past week. We'll start off in the tank section. I'm going to take the second one here on the list. That's Muma. We talked about it already. He had 121 points this week. He was the number 15 tank. Sat out for 3 maps. Expect some sitting out going forward. Fact played really, really well, like we mentioned. And I don't think Muma is going to be an every single map player for a little while. At a bare minimum, we're going to see Route 66 and Volskaya stick around as fact fiction maps. Asmith, talk to us about the next feeder from the tank position.
The next feeder I've got, this guy is he's super good at this game. He put up 57 points, so obviously not that super well. But the problem is he got sick. He was healthy the first game, and then the plague affected him. Got sick, sat out the second game, and Nomi ended up playing, and it was. It was very unfortunate, and even when he was playing, he wasn't playing that well. It could be attributed to his sickness, but he was number 27 overall tank, and that's going to shoot you in the foot big time because that's what it did to me.
We want to hear more of this coming from the announcers when you're out there, Super.
Oh my goodness, it is carnage. The hammer soaked in the blood of his enemies.
Play a drop.
Yeah, we need to soak his hammer in the blood of his enemies. And yes, I was playing a drop. Had it ready. So yeah, let's move on here though and talk to Blevins about the next tank feeder.
Yeah, we've got a good old awesome guy with a $118. It's good for number 18 overall. I played nine maps here. You know, that's just not good enough, right? Like, it's really not what we expected. It's not what the Florida Mayhem expected when they brought him on. Obviously, Florida has been at least competitive in these matches. Let's see, they played against Boston and they went to 5 against Boston, and then they lost to Philly in 4. I mean, he just needs to. For what it's worth, awesome guy, new to the team. There's probably a communication barrier as well as a language barrier just from having this thrust upon him. But $118 is not what they paid for, I'm sure.
The other match was a 3-0 loss to the London Spitfire, actually.
Oh yeah, I went to the wrong. There. Yeah, I went to the wrong.
No worries, I got your back. But let's talk about. I'm gonna talk alone. I got this one, guys. Take a break. We'll talk about the one support feeder we got that really stood out as not really living up to what he's been doing recently, and that's Sleepy. Listen, we talked about all the upgrades, all the new additions that this team has had. Sleepy's obviously not one of them, but we did expect him to get better with the added peel. I mean, we still don't have Choi Hyo Bin in the lineup here for this team, but nonetheless, it was definitely 20th on the support charts here. Is not exactly what we've been expecting from Sleepy, who's number 5 on the season. So we went from 257 last week to 140 this week. He does seem to kind of bounce a little bit between 250 and 150 range, so maybe this isn't totally crazy, but at the end of the day, I think we expected a little better from San Francisco, and I think we kind of opened some eyes when talking about Sleepy as the number 3 overall support player from last stage, and I think people are really counting on him as a must-play player. Keep him there going forward, but if these kind of stack up a couple weeks in a row, maybe it's something to be worried about. Let's move on, talk about the DPS feeders. Blevins, do you want to talk about your guy before we get to say too many bad things about New York and their loss this week? Okay.
Yes.
Because they didn't look great against Houston either, if I'm being perfectly honest.
They
it
really
was pretty
didn't.
close.
It was, I mean, they didn't look that good. And so our first DPS feeder here is Libero, 72 points, number 26 overall. I mean, a lot of it. So really, there's two reasons that this happened. One, like you mentioned, New York really just didn't look like New York this week. Obviously, they lost to Boston Uprising 3-2, and then they had a very, very close down to the last map on Oasis against Houston 3-2 victory. So they weren't really playing up to snuff. I mean, even Libero's like his Widowmaker, which was amazing in the stage 2 playoffs, just really was looking mediocre at best. And then also we saw a lot more Pine. Pine actually decides that he wants to play this stage, and Pine did really well. Pine was popping off for sure, but that is at the cost of the fantasy points of Libero. So it seems like I don't believe we saw too much Pine Libero, if I'm recalling correctly. We saw a lot more. Yeah, we saw a lot more Pine SBB and SBB Libero. So I think maybe the Libero owners were Libero fantasy owners were spoiled with stage 2, and it might be time to reconsider his starting spot in your lineup for sure.
Ripero for Libero. Moving on. I'll take this one, and we've already talked about it. It'll be brief. Bird ring! Why did you do this to me? 43 points, 30th among DPS, sat down for 4 maps. Get this guy out of my... I don't want to talk about him anymore. Get this conversation over with. Asmith, take it away.
All right, I'm going to take the last one, and it was a guy me and Bob were talking about for a while, mainly because, we thought, hey, you know what, this guy's coming in, he's going to do amazing, amazing. He didn't do amazing. He put up 148 points, and we're talking about mistakes. 20th DPS. Look, he did have 5 days of practice or whatever, and he probably wasn't expecting Dreamcaster to do what he did. So he wasn't expecting to play, but at the same time, he is no Dreamcaster. He's not going to put up the same amount of points. He did, let's just take a notice here. He did worse than both of the Shanghai Dragons DPS players.
So did Birdring.
Both of them. Not wrong. That's why they're on this list.
We stopped talking about him, Blevins. Let's move on.
Look,
wait, what do you got, a mouse in your pocket?
Mistakes is he's going to do okay, but he's not going to be that amazing DPS player that Dream was. He is no Dream. He is a mistake.
Yep.
I'm not commenting on that.
One thing I do want to say here, though, we talked about this a bit in the pre-shows with mistakes. I'm very happy with his performance on the weekend as somebody that picked him up. We've talked about it a little bit. I view the way the whole Dreamcasper, his performance in Boston, especially after seeing them not miss a beat. Listen, there's another player out there that I'm not supposed to mention, but I'm going to have to here. McFran was a player that was thought to be really, really good and a really high skill player. And I'm not saying that he's not mechanically strong or whatever, but there's a style of play that teams use where they go all in on one player. I'm looking at Jonak in New York. There's a couple of examples about this, right? Mm-hmm. And I really think Dreamcasper was that player for Boston. And I think a lot of his performance and a lot of his output was a sheer fact that just everybody was supporting him and going all in to give him whatever he needed. And I'm not saying Mistakes is going to be that player. It could easily be Neko. But I think Mistakes is going to fit in and he's going to continue to do better. He didn't have a full week of preparation with the team here or anything like that. So I do really think going forward, Mistakes is going to be a player that you can start and play. It's not like he's going to be sat down for anybody. They did sign a player, but it's a support player that's, I don't think, going to be relevant to fantasy. Watch me eat those words in 2 weeks. But moving on, let's talk about the matchups coming out for next week and start to look forward a little bit here. For Stage 3, Week 3, we have in the Atlantic Division, the Boston Uprising are going to be playing against the London Spitfire and the Seoul Dynasty. They play on Thursday and Friday. 8 maps for Boston this week, so a lot to prepare for. On the overall, these are pretty tough matchups, so I'm a little bit worried that Boston is really going to take off, but I think they can definitely compete with Seoul, who's on the down and out, and even London 1-3 on the stage. So this is an opportunity for Boston to really cement themselves. I expect them to probably drop one of these matches, but I think they're all going to be very competitive. This team loves to go to 5. I'm playing anybody I can from Boston, mistakes included. Going on, the Florida Mayhem have matchups against the Houston Outlaws and the Shanghai Dragons. They play on Thursday and Friday. 7 maps for Florida here. I'm staying away from Logics if at all possible. I'm not rolling out Saya player with confidence yet. I think he looks good. I think he should get the job in the end. I'm just not confident it's going to be a full-on switch or anything like that. Tavik I like quite a bit this week. They've got the easy matchup against Shanghai. I think they'll be very competitive and have a solid chance against Houston this week. That has map 5 potential. It has upset potential. So I definitely think you can play your Florida players this week as well. The Houston Outlaws have 2 winnable matchups this week against the Florida Mayhem and the Dallas FOWL. They're favorites in both, but they're far from a lock. There's a lot of room for competition, maybe map 5s here. I think the way Lynx are played this past week, the way Raucous played this past week, I think you can play all your typical Houston Outlaws players. Jake has been a little bit off, at least from a fantasy production standpoint. I would maybe stay away from him, and we talked about the tanks. Really, none of them are playable right now. So you can fire up Lynxer and you can fire up Raucous, I think, with confidence. The rest of them, it really depends what you've got on your team. The London Spitfire, however, play against the Boston Uprising and the Los Angeles Valiant. They play on Thursday and Saturday, so a bit of a break here. Like Houston, they got 2 days off in between. They got 8 maps, does London, so they're going to throw. I don't know which match they're going to throw, but 8 maps tells me they're not playing their full roster for all 8 of the maps that they have in their matchups this week. Play Prophet and be just terrified of anybody else. Actually, Jester should be fine too. But
Jester, yeah, Jester always.
Yes. New York Excelsior have the Philadelphia Fusion and the Los Angeles Gladiators. They play on Thursday and Saturday, and they have 5 maps. I'm worried about Libero. Listen, these are 2 maps that, after watching New York look very, very beatable this past week, I don't think it's crazy to say they might lose one of these. The one thing I will say is they have the map advantage, right? They play against Philly and the Gladiators. Now, the Gladiators also only have 5 maps, but Philly's preparing for 8. So there might be a little bit of an advantage there in the Fusion matchup, which is the one I think they're more likely to be upset by. So all in all, I'll be picking New York to go 2-0, but these could be close, and just remember that's not necessarily bad from a fantasy standpoint. Last one here for me, and then we'll go to Asmith, is the Philadelphia Fusion have matchups against the Excelsior and then the San Francisco Shock. They're one of the teams with 8 maps here, so Thursday and Friday. We're back to this weird situation with EQO and Snillo, and I personally don't know what you should do, but whatever you've been expecting from Snillo and whatever you think you're going to get based off the last 2 weeks, back it up a little bit. He's going to be seeing a little bit less playing time. EQO, I don't think is going to be seeing enough play time to be an automatic start. This just in, Carpe is an absolute phenomenal fish, I guess is the way to, I was trying to find a better way to say he was a beast, but have it be a fish at the same time. It just never quite got there. He's a kraken, if you will.
There you go.
But moving, it's still not that good. We gotta work on that one more. There's too many good pun options for Carpe being a fish out there. We've got to find a better one. But yeah, other than that, kind of same old for your Philadelphia Fusion players. I haven't been keeping close tabs on how Fraggy's been doing in the tank department, but he's kind of one that stands out as like an option to me.
He's basically still Fraggy.
Still Fraggy.
Yeah,
a couple too many deaths to really stand out. He's in the top 10 though. He's number 7 among tanks, so a startable option. But it does. It's not even been super inconsistent lately, but it's just never high. He never has that big upside because of those deaths. But at the end of the day, if you've been using him, you're fine to keep using him. Asmith, take it away with the Pacific Division.
Look, I'm going to kick it off as we always do with that Dallas Fuel team, and they are playing the San Francisco Shock and the Houston Outlaws this week. Sorry, that was like an announcer voice going on. I don't know what was happening.
And the Houston
and my PC made a
Outlaws.
sound at the same time, so everybody's going to get like a notification sound when it happens. Sorry about that.
Awesome.
That was me. Don't worry.
It's all right. They are playing Wednesday and Saturday. They're playing 7 maps. They got a good break there. These are both very winnable matches for Dallas. It's kind of surprising to say that, but Dallas has looked a lot better as they played, Valiant and sold the Dynasty last week to 5 or very close both times. Expect some close matchups here. Effect is a startable player. OGE seems to be a startable player. Unco, Harry Hooker, startable players. I would stay away from the off tank and the other DPS role because they seem to be a little clouded there. But I think some of these players are going to be startable and will be doing very well. They're winnable games. I'm not saying they're going to win either of them, but they are both winnable games. Next, they're playing the Gladiators. They are playing the Valiant, so the Battle of Los Angeles and New York Excelsior. They're playing Wednesday and Saturday. They have 5 maps, so very few to prepare for here. Look, the Gladiators have looked very weird. They looked strangely not good at beginning of the season or beginning of the stage, and then they looked good. They're kind of hot and cold right now. Maybe it has to do with the sickness going around, but I think both of these games have potential to win, but I think they're probably going to fall on the losing end of both of these. But there's a legit possibility that they go to 5. So Gladiator players are probably going to do pretty well for you here. We're going to the Valiant next. They are playing Gladiators and the Spitfire. They're playing Wednesday and Saturday. They have all 8 maps to prepare for. This is going to be a tough one for them to stretch this. It's going to be fun for the Valiant. They look, Bunny's been playing well. Agilities comes in when needed, but I don't expect to see any other substitutions other than those. Space and Fate are still tank gods. The Valiant tank core is going to get their points regardless, and soon gets his. Okay, soon gets his points. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Continue to run out soon. Then you got the Shock. They are playing Dallas and Philly. Look, the Shock has looked a little better. Last week they kind of had a setback, but some of their players were sick. Super wasn't in all the time. It's gotten a little convoluted here, but we'll see what happens. Architect looked good the second map, the second game, not the first. So we'll see as they continue to work in Architect. Their DPS core, I'm still in a little question mark territory. Sinatra still seems like a startable option with them. If Super is healthy, then Super is going to be a startable option. Sleepy's going to continue to run out. Their tank core and their support core is still intact. Then you got the Seoul Dynasty. They are playing the Shanghai Dragons and the Boston Uprising. Look, Seoul, they're probably going to throw out some weird combination of players against Shanghai, and they possibly might throw. They have 5 maps. They have 5 maps, but Guido might be playing, guys. Fair warning. We might see Guido and Toby, and we might see Zephyr again. Who knows what's going to happen here? Don't start Seoul players if at all possible here, because I don't trust their coaching at all. Lastly, we've got the Shanghai Dragons, and guys, guess what?
What?
They're not utter garbage. You might actually be able to play a couple. They're playing Seoul and Florida, and if Seoul throws out a garbage team, Shanghai could pick up some serious points here. If Seoul throws out their B team and Florida plays kind of average like they were playing, you could see Shanghai possibly maybe even pick up a win. Don't write that down, but it's possible, and Fearless seems to be getting his, and if Dia and Ado are the DPS players, I think they're going to get some points here. I think you might have startable, playable options in Shanghai. Praise the Lord that we don't have a full team of garbage players.
You said write it down, right?
I said don't write it down.
Oh, because I wrote SHD will win, and then I signed it A. Smith on my board.
No,
so
no,
it's a
not
quote.
gonna
It's a
happen.
quote.
I
It's
heard
a
it
quote.
too. I'll corroborate it.
Yep, it's there.
Nope.
So it's on the internet. It's proven, and I wrote it on my board. You can't take it back.
If they win, I am the soothsayer.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about this now because if they do win, then he's getting credit for something he didn't want. But it's not going to happen. So we'll just make him take credit for the loss.
Let's just put it this way. There's no way you're coming out ahead of this.
Do you trust Soul not pro again? I'm just saying.
Against Shanghai, I think
Shanghai scared him before. I'll say that.
Yep.
Yeah, true.
With
Anyways, let's move along here. Talk about some sleepers for this coming week, as we're going to have, obviously, potentially some more illnesses, some things like that. Having some bench depth and knowing who to sub out on a moment's notice on Wednesday could be very valuable. So let's look at the DPS side of things. We reset our little game where the last week's winner goes again, because I didn't want to look back however many weeks ago to figure out who won what. So let's just start things off. We're each going to go first for one of these. We're each going to go second. We're each going to go last. So, Asmith, you get to go first for DPS. Who are you picking?
I'm going to take Architect here. Look, he looked really, really good in the second game they played when he's not running the Sombra. He looked really good on Pharah, on Genji. He looked like the player that Monty was hyping him up to be. He looked like a top-tier Pharah for sure. And as they continue to figure out how to use him, I like Architect's chances in this lineup. Look, Dante's good on Sombra, but the Sombra meta is not quite Sombra meta really, and I think there are other players and other lineups here that can work out, and I think Architect's going to get some serious playtime, and I think he's going to do pretty well. He's not DPS 1 material, but he's definitely DPS 3 material.
For my pick here, I'm going to be taking good old Munch. He's got, in the last 3 weeks, he's got 2 weeks over 200 points. I think Munch is a very capable, this is Munchkin, by the way, of the Soul Dynasty, in case anybody doesn't know our long-running memes. Yeah, I think he's going to be a solid player. I think he's a quality, not DPS 1 or even DPS 2, but as far as DPS 3 players go, I'd be very happy to have him. He's even kind of probably sits in the standings more like a soft DPS 2. So it's definitely a solid choice here. Still kind of a little bit low in the overall point standings just because of, splitting with Bunny and things like that early in the season, but he's since destroyed that competition, proven himself to be a far superior player to Bunny. So, Blevins, who you got for your DPS sleeper this week?
But here's the thing, is that the LA Valiant don't throw games randomly, so we're going to go, I'm starting off a trend here. I'm picking Bunny. And I'm starting the LA Valiant train here, so you can only imagine who I'm going to be picking the next few picks as well. But LA Valiant, like I mentioned before, they've looked, if nothing else, they've
on them. It's ridiculous.
I don't care. I changed the pick even to go even more all in on them. I did it by accident before, but now I'm just
tripling down.
I'm veering right into it. But at the very least, they've shown that they can win the matches that they're supposed to win, and they can beat a throwing Soul. So I think that Bunny is going to beat a throwing Munch this week. And I'm going to be I'm going to be maybe continuing the LA Valiant train next week when I win all 3 of these categories.
Good luck with that.
I think you'll have a nice title for me next week and the last pick on all these sleeper conversations. But let's talk about the tanks. Blevins, you can keep the mic active. Who do you got? Do you know? Does anybody want to guess what team he might be picking his tank from? He can't
it's the LA Valiant, for those of you who are wondering. So I'm picking Space here. Let's just keep it going. Even regardless of the meme of picking LA Valiant here, their tank core is what has really kept them solid for as long as they have been. Fate has basically always looked good, and it was Fate and Envy before. It's Fate and Space now. I think they, one brings up the other, and I never think I'm never betting against Fate. That's for sure. So I think Space is in a pretty decent spot here, as well as the rest of the LA Valiant.
All right. Well, again, he's done. Now it's officially doubled down on the LA Valiant. We'll see if he triples down. Spoiler alert, he does. But we've got a tank here from Homer. I'm sorry, Asmith. Who do you got for your tank sleeper this week?
Look, I am going to own this homing thing because, look, OG's good. He's legit, all right? He's gonna kick the crap out of your pick. So you know what? OG for the win. OG, write it down. Better than all of the Dallas players there, other than Effect. He's going to rack up a bunch of points. Yeah, he's
Super Saiyan Effect is pretty good.
Yeah, Super Saiyan Effect. But OG is going to be the second best player on Dallas team right now, and he's owning it. And I continue to expect big things, and mainly because they don't have anybody else to play over him, because Coco's not playing that.
The
And
Dallas
they decided to put Mickey back on off tank. Woohoo!
The Dallas FOWL and the LA Valiant are so bad that I'm going to tie one of my hands behind my back and beat both of your sleeper picks with a Shanghai Dragon. Give me Fearless this week. He's been pretty good in the last 2 weeks, all things considered, when you look at what he's been able to do. As I scramble to pull up the point totals, he was at 202 last week, 147 the week before. He keeps getting better. He's going to be over 250 points this week. And yeah, I'm sticking with it. I'm going to be winning the tank conversation with a dragon, and I'm going to talk a lot of smack about it. But I'm going to keep the mic this time since you guys are sleeping anyways. That's fine. Sleep on my sleepers. That only helps them be even more valuable. I think that's how that works. But let's look at the support side of things. Listen, it's not a homer pick if I pick a Dallas FOWL player, so this one's legitimate. Harry Hook's back in the lineup. It's been him and Unco lately. Chips has been the one on the bench. Maybe just because I've drafted him and kept him on my bench for a while, and I feel like I really just I'm hoping I get that value back from him. But he's been hovering around 150 points. He's not going to win your week for you. There's still a lot of problems in Dallas. There's still a lot of things they need to work on. But I do think Harry's a solid performer. I don't think he's going to drop much lower than this. His points per map has been a little bit higher, I think, than his, the other people around him. So I think as he, gets comfortable and gets back, associated with the team, gets used to his new main tank, things are going to get a little bit better for Harry Hook. And like Asmith said, I'm not going to be picking them to win their matchups this week, but I'm not going to be even remotely surprised. Like, they can very possibly, they have a chance to win both of them against San Francisco and Houston. Neither of those teams are world beaters right now. So we'll have to take a look and see. And I think it's worth noting, in fact, I should just check it, because if we look at the Houston matchup, if they've got Route 66, which I think they do, yeah, it's Route 66 against Houston for Dallas. Ooh. So that kind of opens things up. All they've got to do is maybe steal Blizzard World, or steal the Koth map, right? Maybe Effect just gets to carry them to the win on Koth. You never know. Go into Route 66. We could be that matchup has map 5 potential.
Dallas hasn't been amazing on Route 66 either, though.
No, they haven't. Okay, yeah, I haven't known how. I've been too blinded by how awful Houston's been to really notice.
They're not as bad as they're not. At least they touch .1, but at least they get
point
to point
3.
Yeah,
yeah, point 3. Let's be accurate with our smack talk against my team, because there's more than enough. There's more than enough accurate.
I don't have to be accurate.
There's more than enough accurate smack talk. I feel like we should just go out of our way to choose the accurate stuff, like how the New York Excelsior just lose to Boston because they are missing their best player.
Speaking of things that are accurate, the LA Valiant have yet to lose a match in stage 2, and that's why I'm veering right into the turn. It's like that meme with the highway and the one signs, stay the course and pick a solid player, and I'm just veering into the all in on LA Valiant. I'm picking Costa here for my support player. I think that the LA Valiant have breathed a breath of fresh air. These new players have, I think, really meshed more so than. I'm trying to think if there's another team that brought in and changed this many players and actually had a lot of success. Yeah, no, not certainly not to the level that the Valiant have had so far. I think, again, they have a winnable week. It's going to be tough, but I think it's going to be close. They're going to be close matches, which of course bodes well for fantasy points.
Asmith, give us your last sleeper of the week.
Look, I'm going to pick the other team that picked up that many players and they haven't done well. I'm going to pick a player from the Shanghai Dragons because, look, I don't want to win.
You're both giving me freebies.
I don't want to win the first 2 and then have to go first both times. I need a little break between here, so I'm picking 5 King. Look, he actually did really well. He put up 141 points last week, and if they continue to roll him out, they play if Seoul ends up throwing with their B team, and then they play a not too great Florida team, they actually have a chance to put up some good points here. And 5 King playing Mercy,
number 20 or number 19 out of 28 is really great.
Look, look. No attention to what we're talking about here. Look, he did pretty good. Okay, he did well.
I think if he has a very good week this week, 5 Kings points per map might be half of Hagopwen's. So I get this pick completely. I fully understand it.
I think if I was on an Overwatch League team and I played maps where I could play Moira, I would get more points than 5 King.
I don't know about that.
You've made this claim a lot, and nobody's really wanted to pick it up when you've made it ever.
There's no way for it to be corroborated. So I automatically win.
All right,
we're gonna get that podcaster team together, and y'all are gonna play against.
No.
Yeah, this works.
On another Overwatch League team.
Okay.
Like, I need to just be like, sub in for.
We'll talk to Bear Hands.
Soul would play you. Soul would play you.
Soul probably would play me. Like Jayhawk, sit.
We've got Blevins in the tank. We can do this. All right. Well, we're going to move along here, and I'm going to add a 4th person to this segment, or not even a person, but we're going to start dousing the flames this week. And I would be remiss if I didn't douse the flames on the Los Angeles Valiant, because I've been inadvertently doing it this entire episode as Blevins just continues to construct his funeral pyre that we will set himself on fire on later on.
Right now. Just add to it.
We've talked more than enough about why I don't think the Valiant are going to be like a stage team or anything like that, but so we don't need to go in depth. And Blevins, why don't you take the low-hanging fruit here for Douse the Flames?
Yeah, Surefour out of nowhere has a 300-point week. Not gonna happen again. Do we need to say anything?
No, you're good. That wraps it up.
Not gonna happen.
That's just not gonna.
He's one of them.
Not gonna work here anymore. All right, that was a joke that only Blevins got, but nonetheless,
it was worth it.
I'm happy with it. So, moving on, I'm gonna douse the flames on OGE here. Listen, this isn't like I think he's bad, or I think he's should just play for the Valiant. He's gonna do so poorly or anything like that. This is just me saying, like, I'm not buying him as like the number 2 tank this past week. Don't expect that kind of performance from OGE. Yeah. He's gonna make the fuel better. He's gonna do okay. He's a startable option, but just don't like sit fissure for him or do anything crazy like that. Maybe Muma, since Muma is going to be splitting time, that might be an option. But just calm down a little bit with the OGE
he's
hype.
Definitely an upgrade to some stuff, but he's not a cut your good tank and play him. Right.
You're still playing Fissure, you're still playing Gesture, you're still playing your top 5 tanks. Maybe after that he's going to slot in somewhere in that 5 to 10 range, I think. At least for a little while. Maybe he can make a bigger bump in stage 4 once he's got a little more time with the team.
I'm seeing OGE in the 3 to 6 range.
It could be. It's not far off at all. So it's still right in that wheelhouse. I'm saying is maybe not this week. It's not a long-term douse the flames. It's just slow your roll a little bit. He's not a wildfire,
but he is still kindling for sure.
Right. I mean, he's still got that fire of fuel that is burning inside. Okay, I'm done with the. Anyways, since you picked a Dallas Fuel player, it's only fair that I pick a Houston Outlaw player. And I actually have a legitimate reason to douse the flames as opposed to your reason. And I'm dousing the flames on Muma mainly because Fact Fiction's good. And Fact Fiction has been, look, he's going to steal some playing time here. He is the aggressive style that maybe this Houston team has needed. He's like the dive, whereas Muma's like the counter dive option. They have like 2 different tanks. And I kind of like the system they got going on here. I like it because it's more fun to watch, but as a Muma owner, I kind of hate it. But I mean, it's a good system they got going here, and I'm a little sad that Dallas, instead of taking Fact Fiction, we took XQC.
Or OGE. But
I mean, OGE can be fine. So you can shut your mouth.
I will do no such thing, sir. But nonetheless, we can move. We're like actually doing really good on time. It feels like it's been a crazy short episode, but no, we're only 10 minutes over, so that's nice. Not too bad on the overall.
So that is a crazy short episode.
Yeah, super short for us. Only 10 minutes too late, and we've still got one more segment to go, so we can feel free to drag this one out and ruin it for everybody, or make it better. I don't know, depending on if you like the long episodes. I'm not here to tell you what to like. I'm just here to screw it up.
Actually, moving like the show, like it.
Yes, except other than the show as a whole. But in the mailbag here, we do have a couple of questions. I believe 3 of them. So I'll ask one to each of us. Let's start off with Bacon Boy.
Bacon Boy.
He wants to know, since EQO is back, is Snillo worth a starting spot? Asmith, what are you doing with Snillo now that EQO's back?
Look, even though EQO was back, Snillo played 3 maps, whereas EQO played 2 in that final game. And look, the Tracer Widow meta, thank you. Tracer Widow meta is still good, and Snillo is the option for that because Carpe is their best Widow, and Carpe is never coming out unless he is sick, because Carpe is good fish. So yeah, I think Snillo is worth a spot on your roster. Do I think he's a starter? I don't know, depending on who you have and depending on the format. It's possible because Snillo is going to play probably 4 to 5 maps per game, and DPS tend to get more points. So if 4 to 5 maps, he's averaging say 20 points per map. So that's what 100 points roughly. He'll average maybe 100, 120 points per game. I mean, if 100 and 120 points is what better than your options on your bench, then I'd take it. So he is a fringe starter. Is that
playing him over? It sounds like you're playing him over Lucios and Divas, but maybe not over the Winstons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like a fringe starter.
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
fringe. I thought you said French starter.
Fringe.
Sorry, I have a savage to AKM. He's like,
I have a cold.
Second question, also from Bacon Boy. We'll go to Blevins with this one. I have Muma, Fissure, and Space. He's going to tell you to start Space. I don't know what to tell you. He also has Neko and Boombox. Should he go out and try to acquire OGE or Kariv, he would be giving up Rascal to acquire either one of these players.
So this is an interesting question because you say I have a tank. I have a support. Should I go get a tank or a support? I would be trading a DPS for them. So who is your DPS? Like, are you getting rid of your?
Well, he's saying his
right?
DPS is set. I think is how we need to look at this. Like his DPS has no concerns. He's not hurt by giving up Rascal. So which one of these two would you rather get?
Would I rather get OGE or Kariv? You have Muma is an issue. Fissure great, Space great. Neko is great, and Boombox. I mean, I guess you could up. I mean, is Boombox? I guess is Kariv an upgrade over Boombox?
Yes.
So yeah, there you go. There's your answer right there. That's what I would do. I think your tanks. I don't think you necessarily like. You might play. You might want to play OGE over Space. Not this week because I picked Space over OG. But yeah, I think you could trade.
So who do you draw? Oh, Trace. Yeah,
he's getting rid of Rascal to pick up.
I was saying
I
wouldn't be opposed to trading Muma for OG. To be honest with you.
Oh, if you can get that trade,
yeah,
yes.
I would say. I mean, if you get Muma for OGE and Rascal for Grieve, that seems like a good.
I think we're trending that direction.
Net benefit.
But just realize that I called him Homer for talking about the Dallas Fuel earlier. Like if Muma gets his job back, he's clearly better than OGE or I'm blanking on who the other.
I mean, OGE's not losing his job.
Better than Fissure.
At times he's been in the past better than Fissure, but no, I think Muma would be better than OGE if he got his job back.
Is that because you're a homer?
No, it's because point totals. It's because when you compare two numbers, one of them's higher than the other, and there's been times Muma's been bigger than Fissure.
Well, that's because Fissure was on the bench.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about when they were playing. Like, you go ahead and look it up. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm being honest, I'm not looking at it like they're exact, but there's been times when I've had Muma ranked higher than Fissure going into a week. We've got week 9.
Not
what was
a
Fissure
single
at?
week. Not a single week.
Oh, okay. There's sometimes it's been 4.
Nope.
All right. I'm sorry. Muma's been tied with Fissure at times, and OGE has 1 week where he's not been where he's been in the league. So by all means, sell one of the top 3 tanks. Sell one of the top 3 tanks in the league. Okay. Can I talk? Am I allowed to get into? Okay.
Yeah, okay,
all right. So, if you want to trade a top 3 talented tank in the league to go get a guy who's played 1 week and looked good on a bad team, fine, go ahead. It's your funeral if you want to go that way. But I think if you pick up Kareev, you've got an option between him and Neko. You can decide between the two of them. Who do I want to start this week? Look at the matchups. That's the direction I would go with this.
He's actually right. I let my heart get in the way of that.
In a couple weeks,
dropping a good tank now.
Yeah, like if Muma loses playtime more going forward, then you might be right on just a playtime conversation. OGE might be worth more. Like, so we're kind of trending towards you being right.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're there yet.
We're not there yet. Another way to look at this, though.
Somebody else is going to get OGE.
It depends on if you want to bet on Muma. Because, like, here's the thing. Muma potentially is worth as much as he's ever going to be worth, right? Like, this is... If he starts losing playtime, he starts losing value in the league very quickly. So you don't necessarily have to trade Muma, but it's possible that this is the most valuable he'll be. So just keep that in mind.
It's definitely very possible, and could be the case. But if you think you can do that in a week or two, like it really depends if you're going off of unsigned players or like with another player in the league with this trade, because you can probably still get the same deal next week with one more week's worth of information. But if it's unsigned players, you've kind of got to put it in now. But maybe trade Boombox and get OGE, because Boombox has been bad. I don't expect that to change. Like you might have an opportunity here to get both of them, which would definitely be worth considering. Yeah. The last question here is, do I drop SDB for Snillo? Yes, Bellman. Drop SDB for literally anything that moves right now, because with EQO out, SDB played like what, one map? It was brutal. I thought I had Shadowburn. I thought I had an opening to like you get one more week of Shadowburn, and I lost in like every league as a result of it.
You got Shadowburned again.
I will never trust the man.
You ever seen a match Shadowburn twice?
Yeah, it just happened. So definitely, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with this. Drop Shadowburn for just about anything that's scoring regular points at this point.
Okay, 100% hypothetical here, but would a Shadowburn have been a great trade for Boston had we not known that dream? Because I think Shadowburn would be a great player for Boston right now.
I think Shadowburn would be a great player for anybody that has a need at the Genji position. And if they're not locked and loaded, good to go on Genji / Pharah, then I think he's got a home. We're not done seeing Shadowburn in Overwatch League. We're not done seeing Shadowburn be a star in Overwatch League. We're just done seeing it in the Philadelphia uniform. So we'll have to wait and see where he ends up next season. But gentlemen, I think that wraps up the show.
Can let's address one more thing?
Sure.
I want to say that they now have a live draft. Winston's League does.
Winston's
and
Lab,
we have not tried it out yet, but we will try it out, and we are going to, come back with and talk about how it was, how our experience with their live draft format and what we think about it. But
maybe we'll do a little side video in addition to the podcast, and we'll have a snippet of it on the show next week. Anyways, they just added it midway through the kind of a weird time to add it, but hey, maybe they're just going to try to work some bugs out now for it to be ready.
Better 8 months too early than too late. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? So anyways, there is that. It is there, and we will see. They are continuing to try to better the league. They're not just leaving it at what it is.
That's definitely good. So great to see from them. Hopefully, if you've been listening to the show and you're not in any leagues, or you're only in one and people aren't really playing it in anymore, start up a new one, because you've got kind of this advantage with the live draft that you maybe don't have otherwise. Use our Discord channel to help you find people. I'm sure you can scrounge up 6 or 8 or 10 people that would want to do that with you for sure. So
I bet you could get another one, at least one more to fire off, especially if you advertise it as the new draft system.
Yeah, just there's going to be people that don't know that's there. So definitely,
there's a non-zero chance I would join it.
I would think the same. I have so many of them that are just going so bad. Mine is also close to zero, but it's not. I have so many that I'm just doing brutally in with 10 people in old scoring format, and I'm just like, I don't even want to look at these. Maybe I won't. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Winston's Lab doesn't make it easy to check either. It's like I feel like I'm pulling teeth every time I go.
We need an app. We need an app badly.
Yeah. Also, a whole new website design would be great, but that could be a conversation for another day. Nonetheless, thank you to Winston's Lab for getting that feature out. All features are good at this point. Also, thank you for putting Kareev back in support. And anything else I've missed over the last couple weeks. But, gentlemen, anything else quick before we get going?
Let's go LA Valiant this week.
Let's go all the way into the dumpster, LA Valiant, this week. So, for the Blevins, for Asmith, I am DeathBlow. Thank you all so much for joining us this week.
Oh, wait. Do we have any iTunes reviews?
I forgot to look, and we will just pick them up and start reading them next week. We'll start from the beginning because I don't think there's so many of them, but I don't want to make people sit around and wait for me to pull it up and look at it. But, again, we will see you all next week. Good luck in your fantasy matchups. See you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change